Welcome back, everyone, to Grand Tactician, the Civil War, as we continue this brand new Confederate campaign. We're now in episode 2. If you did not see the first episode, there's a link in the description that'll take you back so you can see what brought us to September of 1861. Thank you to all of you who signed up as new patrons since the first episode. Your contribution is going to be most welcome because I'm going to need every man I can get in this patron unit only campaign. Now, some of you asked me a question and I want to clarify one thing that I'll do. As the game progresses, now right now we've got a real problem with having enough recruits. We don't have a lot of recruits, but once I complete Diplomacy 3, I'm going to choose Military 1 as a policy, and that'll start beefing up the recruitment a little bit, and that should help with the numbers. And then I'll be able to get all of those units recruited. Right now, I can't quite get all of them, especially the division requests, because a lot of them require so many units from the same state, and I just don't have a lot of men in any one state right now. But I will. Once all of that happens, once we've fielded all of our patron units, and once we start to see the Union really take off in terms of numbers, one of the things I'm going to do in order to keep up with them without violating the spirit of our rule about patron-only units is that I'll recruit new units into divisions that won't be used in combat, but will only be used to then feed the other units. So, say for example, right now, Hungarian Impalers only have about 2,500 men between disabled and active. If I recruit a new unit, I can take 500 men from that unit to beef their numbers back up to 3,000. So I'll do some of that to keep those numbers up and to give myself a fighting chance against the enemy. All right, it's September of 1861. We're still waiting on these forts to get completed outside of Richmond so we can populate those and help protect the city a little bit. And then we are waiting for a number of new units to hit the field as well. Right now, the numbers look like this: 121,000 men in the field for the Union, about 85,000 for myself, and he's got me about 10 to 1 in terms of Navy tonnage. Okay, here we have our shipyard utilization, and right now we're only using about 5K out of the 55K that's available. So that tells me we need to start ramping up the building of new ships. So New Orleans Squadron is a place I definitely would like to add some new ships. I don't think we have any ironclads so far. Let's take a look and see what we do have available down there. Cottonclad rams. I'm just looking at the number of guns on some of these ships to see what we have available, but also how much of various resources it's going to take to build them. These timberclad gunboats might not be a bad idea. And you can see what shipyard capacity is required for each of them. So I'm going to build 3 of those down there and add them to the New Orleans Squadron. I've still got quite a bit of capacity available, and I've got ships available in harbor too. So some of these are just really, really small. The CSS United States is ready to go. Let's throw them into the North Carolina Squadron. And I'm actually going to go ahead and I think... Oh, I don't mean to auto-construct. That's not what I want. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and get another big frigate going. In fact, we'll build 2 more of those. And again, this is all going to cost money and resources, so I have to be a little bit careful of that. But let's at least get some ships going. Okay, we've got our 3 forts built around Richmond now. Each one of those is going to be populated with 2 brigades of infantry, as well as 1 battery of artillery. So that'll give about 6,000 men in each of those forts, about 18,000 defending. Eventually we'll put another infantry brigade in each one of those. We just can't do it right now. I wonder if we could take Fort Monroe while we're sitting here. Let me send the Army of the Potomac 20,000 men down, see if we can't grab that fort while the Union's hiding back around Richmond. If we start to see him making a move again toward Richmond, then we'll pull these guys back. But for now, I think we've got the option to be able to do that. Army of the Northwest doesn't really have any men in it, and it looks like things are pretty quiet right now in and around Nashville. Fort Holmes has got its 6,000 men, as does Fort Herbert, which seems to be a pretty common name. We like to use the H names on these forts. The Richmond forts, 2 of them have H names as well: Hooker, Holmes, Herbert. So we've got 2 Herberts now. Gets a little confusing. I might rename some of those forts. Okay, now that I think we're starting to be able to build up our Army of Tennessee under Beauregard a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and send Stonewall Jackson back to Memphis with the Western Army, just so we can spread out our defense a little bit and meet anything that might come our way. Numbers look like this now: 97,000 men in the field for me, 126 for him, but some of those fielded men for me are in forts, so they're not really available in the field armies. Let's see where we're at on policies. Okay, we got 2 days until Diplomacy 3 is available, and then we'll be able to start doing Military 1, which should improve our recruitment ability. What is this army that's coming down? The Department of the West. How many men's he got? About 18,000. Jackson's got 15,000, so that's a force we could probably take on. I haven't been able to recruit the other 2 brigades of the 5th Australian Division just because I don't have any men from Texas available right now. Let's go ahead and take a look and see. Okay, these artillery units are not patron units. I am probably going to go ahead and recruit some artillery patron units just because otherwise we're not going to have any artillery in any of these armies, so I don't want to have that happen. Oh, the Battle of Fort Monroe has begun. What are the odds we're going to be able to do this? 20,000 men ought to be able to take a fort that is garrisoned by 248 men. It's looking pretty good, the odds right now. I may go ahead and just auto-resolve the assault. 200 men, I think we can handle that. Alright, not at all unexpected that Irvin McDowell and his Department of the West have run into Stonewall Jackson's Western Army. Pretty even numbers. He's got a little bit of an advantage, a couple thousand more men than me, but I think we can handle that. Alright, so this is a meeting engagement. He's coming down from the Nashville Turnpike. We're going to be on the Stones River battlefield here. We're coming in from this side. There's a objective point right here, so I would expect that he's going to try to cross somewhere around here. Now, I can't cover all these crossings, but what I am going to do is I have a pretty small force. Can't possibly cover all of that with a small force, but we'll cover these crossings here, and then I'll dig in with a right flank on this side in case he crosses further upstream. And if he does that, that's fine. Then we can maybe come across and try to outflank him. So that's kind of the thought process here. We'll see how it works out. Okay, he's already coming down the road here. I sent Greg and his cavalry, the Buckeye Blazers, up here to cover this crossing, just in case he tried to cross up there, which he may try to do now that he sees me there. We're going to dig in with brigades here and then right here. And I'm going to put the artillery on some of the high ground so they've got line of sight. All right, so Greg's going to arrive just in the nick of time there. Let's get him dismounted. Alright, we'll see what he chooses to do. He may just try to engage. Oh, yeah, he's going to go up and cross up there. Oh, smart, smart, smart. Okay, that's fine. So then what we'll do is these brigades that we're going to cover my flank over here, we'll send them up here. And then what we'll do with Pillow's division, I think it's Pillow's division. Yep. Is we'll cross with them. That's 3 brigades. And we're going to have to send these guns up. Okay, how are we doing so far? Buckeye Blazers haven't lost a man yet. Oh, where are we going? Where are we going? Oh, they're just shifting. Okay. First combat for them. Alright, let's send the Missouri Iron Brigade straight up here to start firing on their flank. Got that railroad in the way here. Alright, he's loading up everybody trying to cross that bridge. I need the Australians to come in on the flank, though. How are we doing? We lost 146 men. We've inflicted 550 enemy casualties. Well, they've got carbines, so they're 12 rounds a minute, so we're putting out, 4 times the fire that they are. And they're going to hold just long enough for us to get an entire division coming in on his flank. Let's go, Buckeyes. It's cool. You can see some of the vedettes. The vedettes are the guys who have to hold the horses while everybody else does their thing. One guy for every 4 horses. And you can see some of them, or maybe they're just reserves that are coming in to plug the casualties. Which is kind of a cool little element that they have to the animations. Alright. Greg's not going to hold out forever, which is probably why the Australians are just going to stay there no matter how many times I order them to go to the right. But we should be okay now because we're getting infantry support moving up. In order to recruit some of the Texas units, I had to make them small, so some of them were only 1,500 men to start. They'll eventually get recruited up to their full complement of 300. It just may take a while. Come on, Shelby, move up. Alright, so he's going to start now getting some support on this side. Make sure our guns are firing. They are. We do have one brigade coming down from the north here. The Buckeyes have single-handedly held that crossing. They're going to take some casualties. They lost almost 500 men, but I'm a little concerned about Jerome Robertson's Texas Brigade over here getting overloaded. But hopefully we can win a victory before it gets to that point. Shelby, move up, dude. First combat for them as well. Let's bring up the Bourbon Rebels under Breckinridge. Former Vice President of the United States, John C. Breckinridge. He was actually Vice President right up until when Lincoln took office. Alright, here he comes. He's coming at the 11th Royal Australian Infantry. Greg's hanging on. I really wish Lawton would get over here. Who was wounded? Oh, Jerome Robertson was wounded. Commander of the Texas Brigade. They're getting loaded up on pretty bad right now. I'm a little concerned about how quickly they're taking some heavy casualties. Come on, Breckinridge, get up there and support these guys. Shelby's pouring it into their flank, so pretty soon we're gonna drive back these last 2 brigades that are crossing. Cavalry's gonna charge right into Robertson, which might be a problem since they already lost their commander and they've taken some casualties. I am a little bit worried that they may drive them off. Oh, finally Lawton's gonna move. Samuel Cooper. He was actually the highest ranking man in the Confederate Army. He got his 4-star rank before I think any of the other guys did. But never held a field command. Yeah, I had a feeling Robertson was going to break after that. That leaves the Bourbon Rebels. Fear not, Texas Brigade. It's not your fault. It was your first combat. You lost your commander and a third of your men. I would have broken too. Now that might hurt the morale of the Bourbon Rebels a little bit. But everywhere else we're doing well. Single-handedly driving back everybody with Greg's Buckeyes. Fantastic job by them. Alright, Lawton, you can turn now on Shank. Let's get up and double up on the 2nd Brigade. We drive them back, that might be it. Some artillery here. Pillow's demoralized. That's understandable. One of his brigades got driven off. That was Dan Sickles there. Alright, he's out. We got him. We could have had a problem on the left over here once he got more units going. That could have become disastrous, but thankfully we did well enough everywhere else that it didn't become an issue. Those Buckeyes lost 500 men, but man, did they hold. I want to take a look and see what kind of numbers they inflicted. So let's look at the combat report. So, Buckeye Blazers, there you go. They lost 500 men, and they inflicted almost 1,000 infantry casualties and 400 cavalry casualties. So 3-to-1. Now, granted, they had guns that could fire at a 4-to-1 rate. So even though they were facing a lot, they did really, really well there. So who else? Let's take a look at some of the other units here. Nobody else had anywhere near those kind of numbers. The Bourbon Rebels did pretty well. I don't know why it's looking at the Texas Brigade when I click on the Bourbon Rebels, but hey. All right, nice victory for Stonewall Jackson and the Western Army. 1,700 casualties, inflicting twice that many on the enemy, on Irvin McDowell. Now, that worked out okay for us because we had pretty much even numbers. He had a slight advantage, but eventually we're going to be facing much more daunting task in terms of the numbers that we face. So we're just going to have to hang on for dear life. I feel like these early battles are going to be a little easier than the later ones will be. All right, and there's our Diplomacy 3 policy. Pony Express closes. We don't care. Okay, Military 1. So Military 1 is going to take 26 days. Allows for new laws for recruitment, internal security, and trade warfare, as well as reforms, making the military more effective in modern warfare. Recruitment, civil order, and trade warfare subsidies allowed up to $250,000. So what those subsidies mean is, if you're new to the game, we can invest. We can choose how much we spend on various things. We can also choose what our tariffs and taxes are, because we constantly have to worry about finances. If that credit rating drops below B, I can't spend any more money. So we have to keep it above that. Now, we're supposed to run a debt. That's just the reality. Both sides went heavily in debt during the war. The question is how much debt. So investing in these various things, once we unlock the ability to invest, and we're actually investing a lot in agriculture right now. I'm going to scale that back a little bit. Benefits for farms and plantations, boosting productivity and profitability by up to 50% at $1 million, encouraging expansion and establishment of new farms or plantations, which will help feed my army. So that's obviously important, but we have to be careful of how much we're spending on those things. So that'll allow, once we have money to put into recruitment, it'll increase the number of available volunteers, which is what we're after right now. All right, there it is. Glorious victory at Fort Monroe. It took a little bit longer than I thought it would, but it did happen. So let's get them garrisoned and hang on to that for dear life as best we can. We're going to do what we've been doing with all of these. 2 infantry brigades along with some artillery. I don't, however, want these particular guys there. So I don't want to lose a guy like Armistead or William Barksdale in defending these commanding these positions. So we're gonna try to go with some lesser known, lesser skilled people in those positions. Well, that hurts. North Carolina squadron lost 5 ships sunk. Oh, that's brutal. I didn't realize that we had that much of an issue with our forces. So unfortunately, that's the reality of the situation. There's Military 1 policy completed. Now we could do Diplomacy 4, which will get us the mini P-1851 rifles, which would be really nice to have. Ocean-going ironclad ram ships would be nice as well. Military 2 just allows more money to be invested into recruiting, which I don't think we're quite at yet. I don't think we want to halt the cotton trade either. That'll help with European relations, but we're only at 37%. So until we're at the place where that extra amount is going to really push us over the top, I don't think we're going to go there. Let's go Diplomacy 4. All right, so let's now go to finances and recruitment. So let's start investing a little more in recruitment. I'm going to drop Civil Order because I don't think we have an issue there. And hopefully we can start seeing those numbers go up of available troops that we can recruit. Let's see what we have here. Volunteers available is 22K right now. But we're going to be using most of those just to reinforce the units we've lost. Alright, we're going to go ahead and stretch our legs a little bit. Even though it is winter, I just want to move into some better winter quarters, which means grabbing Charlottesville and Fredericksburg back from the Union. And that's where we'll kind of settle in for the winter. And it probably won't do a whole lot of movement over the winter. We'll use it to recruit and get our units trained and ready to go for the spring campaigns. Alright, looks like we're running into some combat. So when I went over here to try and grab Charlottesville, apparently there is an enemy unit there. I can't even see them. It's an unknown unit under William Harney. If you've seen the oversimplified video about the Pig War, you're familiar with Mr. Harney. So this will be interesting. It's the Army of the Shenandoah. I don't have any artillery in this unit. I hadn't realized that, so we're going to have to deal with that. We're on the Appomattox Courthouse battlefield map, and here's the objective right here. It's Colonel Harris' house, and we are on the attack on this one, and this is not the best ground over which to be traveling. Especially, I don't like the idea of having to attack, which makes sense we're attacking because we're the ones moving into that position, but he's got artillery, which is going to make it even more interesting. We've got 2 divisions of infantry available to us. I'm going to put them both in a single line stance. And let's just take a look at our order of battle. Just the 2 divisions. Anderson's division, which has the Hampden-Sydney boys, 2,800 men. Vermland's unit, 2,800 as well. Ruhr Valley Brigade has 2,800. Cox Division has the New York Copperheads, the 41st Alabama, and the Tar Heel Legion. All right, let's do this. Okay, we're starting to get into position here, and he's right about where I expected him to be. He's dug in just behind this creek here, this offshoot of the Appomattox River, defending that objective. That's exactly probably where I'd be. I can hear his artillery firing, so I have no intention whatsoever of attacking him there. So we're going to try to come out and around the objective. I can't even see the artillery, but we know it's out there. It's exploding all over us. So we're going to probably take some casualties. 2 so far, not too bad. But I'm definitely not going to attack him across that water at a fortified position. Alright, looks like he had some guys out on his flank here. We're probably not going to even get into combat as we're getting close to nightfall. It's December, so it's probably going to get dark at like 5, 6 o'clock. Okay, it's day 2, and we're going to move into position right here. This is as far as I could redeploy, was up this far, so you can see we can start to get a little glimpse of where he is, but not much. As soon as I get these divisions into position, we'll deploy some skirmishers. We're going to be fighting in the woods. Not real thick woods, though. Alright, let's, first things first, let's give long-range orders here. From right to left, we have the Vermlands unit under D.H. Hill, Hampden-Sydney boys, and the Ruhr Valley Brigade. Let's go ahead and put skirmishers out from all 3 of those units. And then over here, moving in on the left, is Dorsey Pender's Tar Heel Legion. We've got Richard Jull in the Alabama Infantry and Stephen Dill Lee in the New York Copperheads. Let's also give them long-range orders. This must be Mississippi Rifles in the center. Yep, you can always tell because they've got that extra 100 yards of range. And then we'll deploy skirmishers there. We are coming under artillery fire on the right side, so we're going to have to press forward here. We'll move forward a little bit at a time, try to keep our line as together as possible. Okay, so our morale's pretty good, 72.5. His is 54.5. He's got the artillery I don't have, so we're going to have to be a little bit aggressive on this attack because we don't want to get fired on by that artillery for very long. And he's going to send a single brigade forward. Not entirely sure what that's about, but he's going to pay for it. I'm kind of overrunning my skirmishers a little bit. I'm not sure what Anderson's doing here. Let's get him shifted back the right way. I'm going to pull Lee's skirmishers back in so that we can get the full brigade firing. Oh boy, he's moving everybody forward now. Look at this. And I don't know what's going on with Anderson, but he's all over the place. Skirmishers back in. Alright, he's hitting us pretty hard here. Alright, let's pull skirmishers back in from Anderson as well. I want to be able to get Pegram firing over here into the flanks. He held back a few of his brigades. He's got his artillery here. I'm a little worried about how much he's loading up on us right here. Ewell's the one I'm worried about, the Alabama boys. They've taken 500 casualties already. New York Copperheads haven't lost a man because nobody's firing on them. Looks like we drove back that unit there. That's perfect. That allows me to bring Pegram up, although he's going to take some fire into his flank from that artillery. But I've got to support Ewell. I'm worried about him. Otherwise, it's going pretty well. You can see here, there's routed units nearby for the enemy, which is motivating our men. We are supported on our flank, which is good, and the commander is nearby to motivate, being the division commander in this case. All right, nicely done, boys. They just hurled that attack back. Even Ewell, who suffered a lot of casualties there, did really well. That went really, really well. Way better than I expected. And he's pulling out 3,400 enemy casualties in really quick succession. Man, that was a short battle, but it was intense. I mean, that's a lot of men go down in that short period of time in one small area. A lot of boys in blue fell there. Let's take a look and see who did the damage on that one. Combat report. So you can see here, Cox Division, of course, did almost all of the fighting, so it makes sense that they inflicted the most. And it's pretty even. Alabama Infantry, 1,000 inflicted. New York Copperheads inflicted 1,000. They may not have lost a man either. I have to look at, again, did they inflict 1,000 casualties and not lose a man? No, they lost 40 men and inflicted 1,000 casualties. That's fantastic. Alabama Infantry had it a little tougher because they did take quite a few casualties, but still inflicted far more than they took. And then the Tar Heel Legion also did really well. They inflicted 600 casualties at a loss of 173. Victory at Charlottesville, Army of Pennsylvania fleeing in panic. So that's who that was. We didn't see it on the map, so we didn't know who they were when it happened. But now that we've engaged them, we can. So driving the invaders from our soil. And that will allow us to secure Charlottesville, and we can build up that supply base a little bit. Here's the situation now. We've got 113,000 men fielded, but again, large chunk of that are in forts, and he's got 125,000, which I'm guessing almost all of them are in armies. So the numbers aren't quite as favorable as they appear. All right, what can we choose for the Army of Shenandoah? All right, skilled cartographers. I like that. Army of Northern Virginia is going to be parked here at Fredericksburg. All right, there's Diplomacy 4. And we'll see what that allows for us. We actually have an available policy now. I didn't want free trade. What does free trade do for us? Well, it helps European relations, so maybe that is a way to go. I am keeping an eye on the financial situation a little bit. Actually, industry is probably where we need to go next, because I don't have any artillery. Like, I literally have no artillery available. Everything's 6-pounders right now, except for the ones that I've already got in the field. Let's see if there's anything new. Still nothing. Hopefully, eventually, we'll start getting some decent artillery that we can import. There's Industrialization 1 policy. It's February of 1862. Hopefully that's all going to help us a lot. We could recruit the regulars. I'm not going to worry about that. Free trade will give us 10 to European relations. Letter of marque will actually hurt us with European relations, so we don't want to go there. European relations right now, British intervention's at 43%. What's hurting that, of course, is the blockade. So the more we can deal with the blockade, the better. But if he goes to emancipation, we'll probably have almost no chance of getting European intervention at that point. Let's go ahead and do free trade next. And here's where things stand at the moment. Almost 130,000 men in the field. Again, not that many in our armies, but we're a long way from full recruitment. So a lot of combat left to do in this thing. It's really going to ramp up here in 1862. I'm going to wrap it up right here. Just a couple of quick things for those of you who do have units that have been requested. If you see that I hit like, that means I've added your unit to the game. Once I've added everybody's units to the game, I will do a special video just for our patrons. That'll be a private video I'll share on Patreon that will allow you to see exactly where your units are if you don't see them in the game prior to that. One other note real quick, just to let you know, if you request a commander, I cannot guarantee commanders. Number one, they might have already been requested by somebody else before you. Number two, they might not be available for that particular state. Brigade commanders have to be by state when you recruit the unit. Now later on you can add them, but at first you can't do it that way. So it's kind of complicated, but I'll do the best I can with those where possible. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you again in a couple of days with the next episode. Thanks for watching.